Hey guys, it's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe, and I wanted to do a video with some silly flea market stories from this year so far. So I have done a couple stories in the past. My GameStop videos are still actually very popular, and I still get comments on them from time to time and interaction. People seem to like those kinds of videos where I'm telling stories, so I figured now in 2020 I have some flea market stories to tell. None of them really have a lot of heft to them. They're all pretty small and silly, but they are things that gave me a chuckle that I did want to share. So the first story is I'm at this booth when you first walk into the flea market of this older gentleman. He's probably early 60s, and it's just a table around him with just random items across the whole table. And if you know what porno DVDs look like, they're always bright, colorful, and have something obviously sexual in nature on the front that catches your eye. So as I'm looking visually at this man's table, I come across two porno DVDs. The first one is midgets urinating. The second one I think was lesbians. I don't remember what it was. I think so. So I put them down and I think to myself, wow, this guy's got balls. He's got all this, tools and picture frames and whatever, and then right in the front, he puts these porno DVDs. Usually, people put them off to the side or maybe under the table, in a bag, in a box, somewhere that kids or people aren't going to notice them. So, I step away and I'm on my phone or doing something, I don't remember, and this old guy comes by, probably a grandfather's age, and with his granddaughter. The granddaughter's probably 17 to 19. The old man's probably 70, I'm guessing. So they're looking through this stuff, and I'm the type of guy that I hone in on what seems interesting and I go through it. He was going through everything with his hands. I don't do that. I don't want to touch everything, especially with what's going on. So I just visually inspect, and then if I see something like a bin of DVDs, I'll start fingering through them. So he walks over to the DVDs and he's looking at them. He's like, oh. And he looks at them and he puts them down, and the granddaughter is following his suit. So as soon as she gets up to these DVDs, she picks them up, or maybe she even saw them in his hands at this point. She was like, ew, gross. So she's like freaking out, but he's sort of chuckling at her. I just start dying. Off to the side though, so I don't think he noticed or she noticed I was kind of laughing at them, but it was a perfect Kodak moment, if you will. I was just chuckling at these reactions because most people don't leave stuff like that out in the open, let alone with, teenagers, or I guess maybe a 19-year-old or whatever she was, looking at it. So it was kind of amusing. So speaking of things catching you off guard, another small story. There was this guy that hadn't been to the flea market yet. We had never seen his booth, but he happened to show up about 3 weeks ago. So my buddy Jordan and I are looking at his booth, and there's these big milk crates out front with just tons of DVDs. And I'm going through them. I normally don't buy DVDs unless it's something out of print I can sell or a friend wants it. I'm a Blu-ray guy at this point. I know, kind of snobbish of me, I guess. So I'm going through them, and I come across this other table he has up near him on a table with another crate or two or three of DVDs, and I'm going through them, and I start coming across bootlegs and Japanese martial arts films, and they're pretty loud visually, the Japanese martial arts films with all the kanji and stuff. So I'm going, and out of nowhere I pick one up, and it's a naked woman with needles going through her as she's screaming. But she's completely naked, and it's not a movie per se. It's another dirty movie called Summer's Torture, Torment or something. Completely caught me off guard. Only dirty movie in the whole lot of bins that he had. I was like, what the hell? And it was just random. It's action movies and just comedies and then bondage porn. And I was just like, what the frig? And it caught me off guard, and I just started laughing at myself. But it just struck me as funny. Let's stay with the pornography topic one more time here. So this past Sunday, I'm leaving, and there's this black couple that sells there sometimes Very nice people. I've seen them before. It's an overweight black woman and her husband. And I walk over to her and I said, do you have any DVDs? And she starts yelling. Let's just say the guy's name was Luther. I don't remember his name. Luther, Luther. And she's screaming. And he comes over. She goes, we got any DVDs? They had like a southern accent to them. I'm not great with accents. So he comes over and I said, I see some over here, but is this it? And he goes, well, these are pornos. And he hands them to me. So now he hands me a brown paper bag with like 4 porno DVDs. So I'm like, well, now he's handed me. I'm going to at least glance at them. So I finger through them. I see something called Horny Cousins. I start laughing because I'm very juvenile, and to me that's funny. The woman gets up, sees me looking through them, the wife. Now she's like chuckling while I'm looking through them. I don't know if she's laughing at me or just because I got caught off guard. So I'm like sitting like an idiot chuckling to myself. I go, I think I'm good. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. He goes, would you believe it? The only time I forgot my bin of DVDs, this is all I got. And I was like, all right, man, I'll see you next time. But these are like the amusing stories from the flea market that just unexpectedly sometimes hit you in the face. And when they involve pornography, I just find it very funny. So here's some more stories. 2 more stories. First one is the same day that I'm leaving, after looking at this guy's porn DVDs in this brown envelope, brown paper bag, there's an Asian guy with a cast on, I think, standing under the L. The L is the train platform. And I see him smoking, and he looks young, and I'm a little bit away from him. And I see him, and he reminds me of this guy David I know. So I'm like, is that Dave? Why would he be here? He's from like Brooklyn. Why would he be out here like an hour away? So I look at him and he must see that I'm looking at him. So he goes, so I go, hey man, I go, sorry, I thought you were someone else. And he goes, I have Asperger's. So I'm like chuckling under my mask. Obviously the whole time all these reactions I'm getting, or giving I should say, are under a mask because I'm not going near these people that I don't know without a mask on. And I just, I chuckled. I said, oh, that's all right, man. I said, whatever. I said, I thought you were someone I knew, but obviously you're not them. And he goes, yeah. So I start walking away, and he goes, man, all us Dragon Ball Z people look alike. So I start like laughing, and I'm like, all right. And I don't know what to say to this guy. He's obviously a little off. I usually try to be as kind as I can to people that are slow or have autism or Asperger's or whatnot. I didn't know what to say to that. I think he was joking. I wasn't even sure. So he was trying to say, I guess, Asians and Dragon Ball Z go hand in hand like peanut butter and jelly or something. So I just started like chuckling, and I said, all right, man, take it easy. It was a very weird experience, but it was funny nonetheless. So the final one, which is probably the most amusing story, I guess I saved the best for last. If you would call any of these amusing, they may not be your speed. I'm walking up to this booth, and I see this heavy-set white woman in like, I guess like a big shirt, muumuu type thing. I don't remember. Maybe I'm imagining the muumuu. And I walk over, and my tattoos are out, and I have sleeves. It's pretty warm out. This has to be about 3-4 weeks ago now. And she goes, oh, look at you. I'm like thinking, what is she talking about? She goes, you're just like Mr. Pimp My Ride. So I go, what's that? Who's Mr. Pimp My Ride? And she's like, oh, the show on TV, on MTV, Pimp My Ride, with all the cars, they make the cars all like crazy and loud. And I'm like, oh, the correlation in her head at least was my tattoos are loud and I look out there with the tattoos and the cars look out there and bright. So I got it. But she was definitely off. So she keeps talking to herself and saying this. So I was like, oh, yeah, I've seen that show. So I go over to the DVDs, and I'm looking through them. And she's like, you know what? You got to tell your dad you're the sunshine sunny son. And I'm like, okay. All right. So I don't know what that was. I don't know what she was getting at. Trying to say I'm a bright person. I don't know. But I'm chuckling now, and I'm done with the DVDs, and I don't know what she's going to say next. So I make my way. I say, you have a nice day, miss. She's like, oh, you too. Have a lovely day. And She's still talking. And so far, those are the semi-amusing stories, or quasi-amusing stories, if you will, at the flea market. However, every week, something silly happens. So I'm sure I can gather up, hopefully at least a couple more for another video before the end of the year, because I think it's going until the middle of December, if memory serves. I love going to the flea market. I love going through other people's junk and finding treasure, so to speak. I love when you find something worth money and, you know, you want it and someone's like, oh, $1. And you're like, all right, you know, that happens to me fairly frequently with movies or video games or whatever. I found a rare Wii game recently that was Coraline. And the guy wanted $3, and I think I sold it for 40 or 30 or something, 35, whatever. And that was pretty good. So that helps me flip things around to buy things I want for myself without feeling too guilty. So I wore my Faith No More shirt as a throwback to those GameStop videos. For anyone who noticed, I still have all my t-shirts. I just don't buy them anymore. But anyway, those are my little silly flea market stories. I hope you guys enjoyed them. I got a little chuckle out of them in person. Some of them are kind of stories that if you're there, it's a little better, but I digress. So, thanks guys for watching. It's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. Be good.